Take Us North, the game that was toted around as this totally not illegal immigrant simulation game.
And it was totally not shown as a demo at the United Nations under the codename American Dream. What are you talking about?
Well, they have come out with a statement, but the funniest part is the statement has already been deleted. You heard me correct. They came out with a statement about the backlash, but instead of keeping it up, they also deleted it, except, oops, it was already archived. So we are going to read their statement and laugh at them.
Woo!
So this is the archived version of their post because the original post has been deleted because nothing says there's nothing wrong and we're always right and you're just a bunch of bigots, like deleting all the evidence. Nope.
But unfortunately for them and fortunately for us, my husband is very good at finding these things even after they've been scrubbed.
So we're going to read this. It's a giant statement. It's not just a couple sentences, guys. They went through and tried to disprove everything that people have been saying, and, well, they failed. Like, really bad.
Hilariously.
From Anima Interactive, replacing fear with empathy. A statement from Take Us North creative director Carla Reyes. We are currently in the midst of Hispanic Heritage Month, a time typically marked by vibrant festivals and cultural celebrations. But this year, some of that joy is muted. Following a recent Supreme Court ruling, many Hispanic heritage gatherings across the U.S. have been canceled as fears over immigration enforcement and safety concerns arise. These cancellations contribute to a pattern of cultural erasure that is pushing historically marginalized communities into the shadows. This is the statement about your game, and instead you just made it a political statement for no reason.
Well, the game was itself was a political statement.
True, but put it this way. Nothing says there's no indoctrination going on here. You're not pushing a message, like literally pushing a message in the first paragraph of your thing that you're claiming you're not pushing a message in.
I've come to know these shadows well. In late August, Anima Interactive and I became the targets of a viral online harassment campaign. Fake news.
Lies.
After giving a presentation at Gamescom, the world's largest video game convention, a prominent streamer with a large right-wing following broadcast my talk to his audience, reaching millions of views. This escalated into direct personal attacks and doxing attempts. Source? Proof? Forcing us to minimize our online presence to protect our safety and security.
Not all of the people who were calling you out were right-wing. And I want to point something out here, okay? You just explained that it is the biggest, world's largest video game convention, and you expected nobody to notice this or whatever. So didn't we kind of connect that they showed the demo of their game at the United Nations under the code name The American Dream? Did we not prove this?
Yes, we did.
So explain to me, Carla Reyes, because I know you're watching. I know you guys are watching. So please explain to me. You could have chosen any name that you wanted to do your demo, and you chose The American Dream. So you're going to tell me that you went to the United Nations and showed your demo under the code name, The American Dream, and you thought that people in America would be okay with this, would not have any problem with it.
Or you thought no one would notice.
Are you kidding me? You do not name your demo of your game The American Dream unless you're expecting people to not like it. I'm sorry. You cannot pretend to be this stupid.
Unfortunately, she's not pretending.
Clearly. But so you couldn't have done, if you had named it something else and it had just become a thing, fine. But you went out of your way to name it that, and you knew exactly what you were doing. At the nexus of the harassment campaign is our project Take Us North, An interactive narrative that immerses its audience into the perilous, poignant journeys of migrants and asylum seekers crossing the US-Mexico border. Translation: illegal immigrants that come over the border, but we're going to call them things that sound nicer than calling them what they actually are.
Criminals.
The experience invites you to walk in the shoes of border crossers, as well as a migrant guide, or guia, I think it's how it's pronounced.
Guia, I think?
More widely known as a coyote, which, by the way, coyotes, not very good people.
No, they're some of the worst.
Yes, don't you guys want to play a game where you're a coyote and you lead people across the border illegally?
While doing horrible things to said people?
It portrays some of the most dangerous migrant routes in the world. I wonder why they're dangerous.
Maybe because of all of the coyotes.
Including the Sonoran Desert, La Bestia, and the Darien Gap.
As a first-generation immigrant from Guatemala, migration is not an abstract political issue for me. It's a personal reality that has shaped my family and much of my community. No duh.
Yeah, it's also shaped your game development. Especially, you know what I love about that, Carla Reyes? You shared your experience with us so well, especially in that clip where you admitted that you got experience from people who crossed the border, but you mentioned didn't have papers.
The game that we're currently developing is our debut original project, which is a narrative adventure / survival game about the migrant journey through the Sonoran Desert to cross the US-Mexico border. So it's a very heavy-hitting topic, but it's one that we're really trying to tackle sensitively and authentically. So as an example, we've partnered with an anthropology lab at UCLA that specializes in clandestine migration. We're collaborating with a collective of undocumented immigrant filmmakers. So they're people with lived experience of crossing the border, but they're artists and storytellers in their own right.
You openly admitted that you have spoken with actual undocumented immigrants.
That are in America, and that's okay.
That are in America illegally. I know there's more to the story than the reductive polarization that dominates our public discourse, and that's one of the primary motivations behind developing Take Us North.
My commitment to this project is rooted in deep human-centered research. So you talk to people.
I mean, it's a very long-winded rigmarole way to say that you just talk to people, yeah.
This project is rooted in me talking to people. Okay. I've extensively interviewed migrants and asylum seekers. Yes, especially the ones that you mentioned that were undocumented, but that were in America somehow. Do you not think that we can't look at this and go, in America, undocumented, connect lines? What? They're illegal? No. They're storytellers in their own right. They're asylum seekers. It doesn't matter. If they are here illegally, they are illegal immigrants. Whether you talk to them or not for your video game says a lot. But okay. Walked along their trails and learned from ethnographers and anthropologists who have dedicated their lives to studying migration. I've listened to humanitarians and activists who shape the policy around this topic. So people like you, in other words, you listen to yourself. And I have also connected with members of indigenous communities along the borderlands to understand migration's impact on their native land. How about the impact of migration on American land?
Yeah.
Nope. Doesn't matter. Not important. Blah, blah, blah.
Our goal is not to be definitive, but to be dedicated. We're engaging in documentary-style work. Why not do an actual documentary then? By contributing human testimonies to a conversation that desperately needs more of them.
So make a documentary!
Take Us North is designed to bring these personal stories into focus, inviting our audience to move beyond the world of divisive rhetoric and into the visceral moment-to-moment of the human journeys. Visceral is certainly a very good word to use because it can get very visceral on those trails.
Also, translation. You want people to see the suffering that the immigrants go through without recognizing the fact that they are illegal and are therefore choosing to do this on illegally and breaking into a place. Just weeks after the U.S. presidential election, I interviewed a couple from Guerrero, Mexico, currently residing at a shelter in the border town of Nogales. Their story was a harrowing echo of thousands of others. So, in other words, it was an echo of stories that were already told. So, why would you talk to them about their story when you already had thousands of more?
Don't know.
The husband was given a choice by the local cartel, join them or be killed. So they fled. After months of running and hiding, they finally secured what felt like a miracle, an appointment through the CBP-1 program, a lifeline to ASYLUM in the US. Their date was set for late January. Then, on January 20th, a single signature in Washington froze the program, rewriting the future for this couple alongside countless others. This whiplash forced displaced people who have fled from persecution, dictatorships, and climate disasters and extreme poverty into uncertainty again.
Stories like this were a cornerstone of my Gamescom presentation and a catalyst for the backlash against us, which has generated...
No, wait. Let's stop. Let's stop right there. Stories like this were the course of my game presentation. You mean the presentation at the biggest gaming place where you showed no gameplay of your game and spent the entire time talking and people were like, hey, this is a games thing. Where is the game? And people also pointed out that you were clearly making this into a political statement rather than a game, which is what you're admitting to doing. You told stories at a games presentation. Honey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah?
Was this tell me a story presentation, or was this Gamescom?
It was a video game convention.
So you're telling me you went up there and talked about stories that influenced your game, but decided not to actually talk about or show your game at Gamescom?
Yep, pretty much.
And you're wondering why people may have had an issue with that.
What an idiot. Stories like this were a cornerstone of my Gamescom presentation and a catalyst for the backlash against us, which has generated false claims and questions surrounding Take Us North.
Oh no, honey, the dreaded questions. Oh no, how could we just answer those questions publicly? No, they're coming for us. They're questions. They're hunting us.
We must hide, run and hide.
We must cross the border of sanity to hide away from the questions.
In a climate with increasing anxiety, replacing fear and anger with empathy and understanding is the most essential work we can do.
Don't be mad that people are entering your country illegally. Be empathetic to them because they have feelings and they have feelings too. They just don't care about yours.
It is therefore important to address some misconceptions and elaborate on the background and intentions behind Take Us North. No, they had to do it in a statement that is now deleted from the internet.
You know why it's deleted? We're going to read some of their questions that they chose and the answers they chose for them. Wait for this, guys. These are going to be, I've read some of these. These are some of the stupidest answers ever. I would be ashamed to be associated with this company. That's why they deleted it. Why is Take Us North a video game? It's a good question. The word game may seem inappropriate for a project centered around migration. Yes. But games have evolved far beyond traditional stereotypes and can serve as a strong drivers of community and connection. So you made the games, translation, games have a big audience and you wanted to use them to push stuff.
Yes.
Video games don't just tell stories, they ask you to hold their weight. Nope, sorry. I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm sure most people are. So I don't want to hold any weight, thank you. I believe they are one of the greatest vehicles for empathy. I want to tell you a secret. Carla, listen really closely to this, okay? Listen really closely to this, okay? I'm going to tell you a really cool secret. It's a video game. It can be vehicles for empathy. It can do things that were weight. But you know what you got to do first? The video game part.
Oh my God. Keep going.
Which, by the way, I want to clarify, at this Gamescom thing that got her a bunch of backlash, I want to make clear, she did not show a single minute of gameplay. Not one.
Not even the trailer.
Look, I have propaganda here. Get your propaganda here. Get your propaganda here. Miss, how will this help us sell video games? Video games? One of Take Us North's fundamental design principles is to avoid abstracting the player from the emotional impact of migration. So in other words, make people feel bad for people who are entering the country illegally. That's what you're doing. Okay. This requires a profound commitment to sensitivity, ensuring we can convey some difficult truths without being gratuitous. You literally showed no gameplay! The primary goal of Take Us North isn't for a player to win or lose, but to engage in an experience grounded in reality and confront choices, stakes, and sacrifices that would reflect those of migrants and asylum seekers. So, it's a game that you don't win or lose, you just play and you make choices that you ultimately have no impact on whether you win or lose. Wow! Sounds like a great game.
Yeah, sounds like any other simulator.
It sounds like a narrative, a novel, a visual novel. Go make a freaking documentary. We are carefully weaving real-world stories into the tapestry of the project. Stories that encompass not just trauma, but a broad range of human emotions, moments of love, laughter, hope, and connection that persist even in the most challenging circumstances. We aim to honor the individuals behind the stories with integrity and dignity. So, here's my question, Carla. You just gave us a big paragraph of gobbledygook.
Oh my God.
Right? Wouldn't it be more prudent for you to mention whether or not what actual things going on in the game?
Yeah, I think.
Like, this would be a good point. Why is it a game? What do you do? So far, aside from a trailer, you haven't really given us any of the gameplay. So if you want to, take a moment to explain this, what I think would make more sense, just my opinion, is that you would take this opportunity not just to explain why the game exists. You made this very clear in your presentation or whatever. We know what you want to do here. But wouldn't it be better to explain how your game conveys this stuff?
Yes.
Just saying.
Does Take Us North condone or glorify human trafficking? Glorify. Absolutely not. Firstly, it is important to distinguish between trafficking and smuggling. Human trafficking involves force, fraud, or coercion for exploitation, a heinous crime that our development team and the project denounce.
Where did you denounce this again? Aside from here, you haven't really made that distinction.
Human smuggling, on the other hand, is the facilitation of passage for a fee, a consensual transaction. Is it though? Is it really?
But hate to break it to you, Carla, do you know that smuggling is also illegal?
Yeah. Take Us North acknowledges and condemns the dark sides of migration across the U.S.-Mexico border, including illicit drug trafficking, cartel dominance, and the abuse that disproportionately impacts women along the migrant trails. You mean what the coyotes do to them? The cartels and gangs are among the primary perpetrators who have forced thousands of migrants and asylum seekers from across Latin America to flee from their homes. We also recognize that irregular migration is a last resort for many migrants and asylum seekers in desperate situations who, unfortunately, would rather undertake these dangerous journeys than stay home. Okay, so how does that answer the initial question?
It doesn't. They're basically saying that it's not there's a difference between trafficking and smuggling, but both of them are illegal. Just want to make that clear. Not trying to say that you can't make a game about it, but they're both illegal. And then they're saying that there are certain conditions and stuff that are driving these people to actually do these kinds of things. And sometimes they'll do things that are illegal specifically because they're in such a bad situation, which isn't the problem. The problem is not that. I understand that people do that. The issue is you are trying to glorify it.
So make a documentary. Why is it a video game?
Why step into the shoes of a coyote, or Guaya, I think that's how it's pronounced. Not all Gayas are directly involved with the cartels. Through research, we've discovered that many migrant guides are simply people who, out of desperation or to make a living in a hostile economy, become facilitators. The problem is the majority of these people are not good people. As ethnographers like Gabriela Sanchez and Jason DeLeon have documented, the reality of human smuggling is far more complex than the sensationalized images we see in the media. Guides are not all monolithic drug lords. They are multidimensional.
Multi-dimensional?
I get what she's trying to say there. I just don't think that was the right word.
That is the wrong word.
The multifaceted would be a better word to use here, but that's just my opinion. Okay. They're multidimensional individuals. I can't read that with a straight face. Yeah, guys, they're multidimensional guides. They're guides to the multiverse. So like they're Doctor Strange. Multidimensional individuals motivated by a range of factors, including dire necessity, community obligation, and a sense of duty. A truth more challenging than the simple caricatures that serve political agendas. By entering into the perspective of a Gaia, players can explore these nuances and encounters, I think is what they tried to say there. These nuances and encounter, yeah, that doesn't make sense otherwise.
And encounter its nuances, it should be a comma, and encounter and in company.
No, or it could be players can explore these nuances and encounters and accompany migrants with a similarly complex range of needs and motivations.
Yeah, they needed an editor. Is Take Us North propaganda? Short answer, yes. Long answer, also yes. Propaganda takes an easy path to a conclusion and makes sweeping statements on morality. In contrast, Take Us North embraces complexity rather than reducing it. The project explores moral ambiguity and provokes difficult questions rather than providing simple answers. Why can't you guys just give simple answers here? This is storytelling as inquiry, not indoctrination.
Hate to break it to you, Carla, but telling stories in the way that you're suggesting, you're saying we're telling these stories to change the way people perceive things. Would that not be, in a way, indoctrination? I'm not saying you have to use that word. I'm just saying, would that not be the case?
Oh my God, she's an idiot. By placing our audience in the shoes of migrants, we create conditions for empathy to emerge.
So you indoctrinate people. I'm sorry. You just said this is storytelling, not indoctrination, and then immediately followed it by, we put them in the shoes to create conditions for empathy to emerge.
Yeah, that sounds like indoctrination.
So you place people in certain stances that convince people to follow their beliefs.
Oh my God. We hope to replace fear and anger with the transformative work of understanding by shining a light on perspectives so often cast in the shadows.
So you want people to see things your way, and you're putting them in positions that will help them change their perspective to see things your way in the guise of a video game.
Yeah, that sounds like indoctrination to me.
The campaign against Take Us North is not an isolated incident. It's a symptom of a rising climate of fear and censorship that threatens the soul of a free society. How does this have anything to do with affecting society? You were at a conference about video games, and you didn't show any of your video game. You instead talked a bunch of stories. People found out this stuff. You promoted your game at the United Nations under the codename The American Dream, and people said, hey, this is not cool. And your response is, it's a symptom of rising fear and censorship. You're not being censored. You have a right to say what you want to say. We just also have a right to criticize you for it. That's what freedom of speech is.
Keep going. I want to laugh more.
True freedom of expression transcends our right to speak. It encompasses our collective ability to listen, to question, and engage with art and ideas that challenge us.
I mean, I guess they wanted to pay people, but transcends our right to speak? What does that even mean?
They're saying that they have a right to express what they want to, and they do, but people also have a right to express their displeasure at these things as well. That's how this works. It is a two-way street. No wonder they do. Oh, wait. Here we go. The last part.
Let me try to get through this without laughing. The wave of harassment against us has been met by a powerful and humbling countercurrent of solidarity led by artists, developers, and advocates across the globe. Okay? The intensity of this reaction proves we've struck something vital and reinforces why we do this work.
Or maybe the intensity of the reaction proves that you've stumbled into a divisive topic, and if it's a divisive topic, people will have divisive opinions.
No kidding. For the people whose stories we're sharing, para mi gente, resilience is a through line. We honor their journeys by continuing our own with Take Us North, and we will not be silenced.
And here's the best part, and then it was deleted. We won't be silenced! Quick, delete it!
They silence themselves!
Like the video, break the algorithm style, share with your crew. Escape life's hell, from spooky memes to advice obscure. Here's your dark solace with humor as a cure.